The NBA is starting in just about a week. Who's going to win the East? Who's going to win the West? Hakeem Profits will be joining us to discuss that a little later on in the show and so much more. Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today, the best daily sports betting show on the planet. I'm Lawrence Presman. My co-host is Teddy Covers. And Steve Merril will be our first guest, joining us talking college football. Steve, welcome to the show, man. Love having you with us. Shame you didn't actually come on with the fro. We did get a chance to see it before. We got a chance to see it.
What are you talking about? My hair is short.
Then
you can see how short my hair is. I don't know what you're talking about. You're seeing thing. It was pretty out of control. People don't comprehend.
Wimp. Teddy.
Sure. So, let's start with some Tuesday night college football. Yes, Tuesday night college football. We haven't done all that much weeknight football breakdowns here in the show. I'm glad you brought up one of these games for this evening. That would be Southern Miss and South Alabama. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live screen. Again, this is a 7:30 Eastern time kickoff on ESPN2. Right now, I'm seeing South Alabama minus 18. There are 18.5 popping up. There's even a 19 on the screen as we speak. Total 51/51.5. What do we do with the Jaguars and the Golden Eagles?
Yeah, it's been a very disappointing season, to say the least, for Southern Miss. This is a team that was not expecting, I think, to be 1-5 at this point. And when you look at who they've played, it's even worse. They beat Alcorn State to start 1-0 straight up in ATS. They've gone 0-5, not only straight up, but 0-5 against the spread since the first week of September. They've been the biggest money burner in college football over the past month. And I don't trust them here in a focused spotlight game against South Alabama for a couple reasons. First of all, South Alabama is not going to overlook this game. It's a Tuesday night national TV game on ESPN2. I always like to take the better team whenever possible in a focused spot. And also, I just don't think that Southern Miss can take advantage of the one weakness of South Alabama, which has been a below-average pass defense. And that's because Southern Miss on the season is averaging just 6.2 yards per pass against teams that allow 7.8. So they're not going to be able to take advantage of the one weakness of South Alabama. And it also takes away the backdoor cover potential when you don't throw the ball late. You can't throw the ball in the second half late in the game, less chance of those garbage touchdowns. So once again, not a coincidence that Southern Miss is 0-5 against the spread their last 5. And I think it's going to be 0-6 ATS after tonight.
So when you talk about a team that's now, as you mentioned, they've lost 5 in a row straight up. They've lost 5 in a row against the spread. There's absolutely no betting bandwagon for the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Whereas South Alabama, they had an impressive win at Okie State earlier in the season. They're coming off a 55-7 win over ULM. The point spread is the great equalizer here. This has not been a blowout series in recent years. Last year decided by a single touchdown. At plus 18 and a half, we're not asking Southern Miss to win the game. We're asking them not to get blown out. Is this a team that you expect to get blown out tonight and moving forward? Are the Golden Eagles that bad?
They've actually been a favorite in 2 of those last 4 losses, and they've been a dog of 8 or less in the other 2. And the one time they've been a big dog this year is a 30-point dog against Florida State. They lost by 53. Now, obviously, Florida State's not South Alabama, but it's even worse because they've actually been in competitively priced games. They've gone 0-4 straight up ATS since that Florida State game. And the other thing I'll point out, just looking at margins, I think this line is not high enough. I think at 21 or less, there's still value, and it's currently around 19. South Alabama on the season, just basic math here. South Alabama is winning by 10 points on average. Southern Miss on the season is losing by 11.5 points. That's a 21.5 point difference, almost equal schedule strength. I've got Southern Miss about a point stronger. And you factor in a little bit of home field national TV spotlight. Once again, I get over 3 touchdowns here, so I just don't think it's been factored in yet to the line. And that's another reason why Southern Miss is 0-5 against the spread, because the odds makers and the betting market has not caught up to how bad this team might be.
Steve Merril joining us, everyone. Exclusive handicapper at WagerTalk.com. And we got an outstanding show set up for you guys today. My favorite segment of the week a little later. Steve's going to talk Clemson and Miami, Florida. Hakeem Profit is coming on. He's got the winning future on who's going to win the East and who's going to win the West in the NBA. Teddy's big game breakdown. And we did get a cancellation today. Dave Sharapan had some personal stuff to deal with. So Teddy and I will be doing NFL Marketplace where we will look at whether we should buy or sell the Lions, the Seahawks, the Commodores, the Ravens, and the Bills. Hey, well, it's easy like Sunday morning, Steve. Anyway, well, thank you, brother. I'm known for incredibly witty one-liners. Clemson, minus 3.5. Bugger off, sick man. Clemson, minus 3.5 at Miami, Florida. A low total of 48.5 in this game. Where are you going?
Interesting matchup here because I do a college football top 25 video later this week. Yet another reason to hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts here on WagerTalk TV. And neither one of these teams are in the top 25. I still might include it, though, as just a bit outside segment because Clemson with the win probably gets back into the rankings. I think right now they're sitting 27th if you look at the additional votes behind mighty James Madison in both polls at 26. But the reason I bring it up is because I think both these teams are top 25 talent-wise. It's just a question of does Miami of Florida show up for this game? They were in such a terrible spot last week, and we talked about it on some of the shows. One of the worst defeats in the history of college football when you don't take the knee and you end up losing as a 19-point favorite. Don't forget that was the 5th turnover of the game. They still almost won against Georgia Tech. And not surprising, they did not show up defensively last week against North Carolina. In fact, my free play of the week last Saturday on my page at wagertalk.com was North Carolina minus 3. I made the line 10 in my simulation. I thought there was great value, and I thought it was a potential flat spot. And yes, Miami scored 31, but they gave up 41. And more importantly, they gave up over 500 yards of defense. I've always said letdowns happen more on the defensive side. And they also had 4 turnovers to none, 4 offensive turnovers. So once again, not a focus spot. They've now had 9 turnovers the last 2 weeks, back-to-back losses. For that reason, though, I think we now get some nice line value with Miami of Florida. This look-ahead line, not even the look-ahead line, the real line yesterday on Monday afternoon was 2.5, and we saw some 3s starting to pop. Now there's 3.5s out there. So this line continues to climb. I even see a 4 out there at some points at South Point and some other books. If you look at DraftKings has a 4, which is a huge book, obviously, at the WagerTalk Live odds screen. So I think now that it's crossed that key number of 3, we're getting some value with Miami of Florida. Yes, I am concerned about the situational setup after their second loss of the season. But the same thing was said about Notre Dame last week, and they went in there and they smoked USC at home. If you look at Miami on the surface, they're a really good team still, averaging 7.5 yards per play offensively. Clemson's averaging 5.8 against teams that allow 5.7. Miami's only giving up 5.1. Clemson does have a very good defense this year, but Clemson is very average offensively. I think Miami's the better overall team when you factor in both offense and defense, and we're getting them as a home dog. Let's just hope they show up here after the back-to-back losses. But I do think there's some line value now at the plus 3.5 or more.
40-10 last year, 42-17 the meeting before that, 38-3 before that, 58-0 before that. This has been a very one-sided series in recent years, all in favor of Clemson. Miami last week showed me something. They showed me some quit. Does that worry you? Either of those?
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly, Ted. I mean, that's what I'm saying. My concern, and there's no slam dunks. This ain't basketball. That starts next week. But look, there's no slam dunks. And the one concern you have here, obviously, is if Miami brings their A game after the back-to-back losses. But the fact that they had 4 turnovers last week, 5 turnovers the week before, yes, and that might be a focus thing, right? But the fact it's a home game, and I like the other fact, I'm using that word a lot here, that they got blown out last year by Clemson. I actually think that's part of the handicap here. It should have them focused against the ACC big boy. And the recent results don't concern me as far as that goes because these are different teams. Clemson is not as good as the past few years. They were a national title contender. They're not anymore. And as I just stated with the offensive stats, they're an average offensive team. And then also second-year coach here, first-year new offensive coordinator. And let's not forget, we talked about Southern Miss earlier, 0-5 ATS recently. Miami was the worst point spread team in the country last year. They were 1-10 against the spread, 5-7 straight up. They come out of the gate and they cover the first 3 this year. So this is a different team, and I think that's another reason why this line is inflating. We are getting some value with the Hurricanes at plus 3.5 or more.
Steve Merril, everybody. He likes South Alabama and Miami, Florida. And like always, Steve never disappoints. He comes on the show prepared with promos and coupons, gift certificates, whatever is required. Steve, we have been told in the chat room that you are the best at sales pitches. Let's hear.
Even with that, I still can sell because that just diminishes any sales pitch you can possibly freaking do when you tell someone you're a salesman. But it sells itself, so I don't have to be a salesman because these are three really good offers. In fact, you get to decide which one you want, and I put all three on my page. Go to WagerTalk.com, go to my page, Steve Merril, and decide if you want a 7-day, a 30-day, or a 365-day all sports, all access. Baseball is here. The playoffs continue. College and pro football is here. And as Prez said, the NBA starts next Tuesday, 1 week from now. So if you want to do a 7-day, you're going to just miss basketball. If you do a 30-day, you get basketball. And if you do a 365, you get every sport every day for the next year. $10 a day, $6 a day, or as low as $3 a day. Full details, including those promo codes for the different all sports, all access specials are on my page right now. Check it out. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Steve Merril, everyone. And Teddy, he doesn't disappoint. I mean, he comes on here with unbelievable information. We already had one of our listeners say that he provides the best info, always has promo codes. We are lucky to have that man. I just wish he would actually come on with his afro one of these days. Teddy, I want to if you guys have never watched this show before, yesterday we had three guests, Adam Trigger, Andrew McGinnis, and Carmine Bianco. They won every single play that was given out on Wager Talk Today. Not only did they win every play given out on Wager Talk Today, Carmine picked a plus 170 dog in the Florida Panthers, so congratulations to him. And I do want to shout him out, Teddy, because Carmine had 99 units of profit last year in NHL, and today he has a 5% play. It's a big play. It is presidentially approved. I've seen the play, and you can get that over at wagertalk.com as well. Before we get into what did bettors learn, it is $2 Tuesday. $2 Tuesday over at Wager Talk. And Theodore, do you know who the $2 Tuesday handicapper is?
I do. You know how I know who the $2 Tuesday handicapper is? Because the $2 Tuesday called me yesterday to discuss NFL. That would be you, Mr.
Yeah. So I'm the $2 Tuesday handicapper, and I've got a 4% NFL ATS bet up. It's only $2. And these plays are rare. Firstly, this is my first 4% NFL ATS bet of the entire season. Secondly, I am, and I'm not even kidding you here, Teddy, I am 7-3 this year in NFL ATS bets. And since the beginning of last season, I am 26-11 in NFL ATS bets. These plays are so rare. I didn't even have one single one last week. And I love this play. Guys, I want to set the record at Wager Talk for the most $2 plays ever purchased. Ever. We are going to need in the thousands. This record is important to me. I can hold it over Marco and Teddy for weeks and weeks to come. So why don't you all head over to Wager Talk and spend $2 to make me happy? I want that record, Teddy. I want it bad, man. Bad.
Who has the record now? Is this something that's like, yeah, exactly.
I know
so
what it is. I know what the record is. I just don't know who holds it. But it doesn't matter, Teddy, because I'm going to hold it tomorrow. So, guys,
well, good luck.
Help the Prez out. Let's go. 4% NFL ATS best bet up now, $2. Theodore, my brother, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Well, Cowboys and under last night, 20-17 final. We'll call it a bad game from Justin Herbert, right? That's the prevailing narrative. Oh, Justin Herbert was off. He was inaccurate. That nothing was right. It's Herbert's fault. He's taking the blame. How much is Justin Herbert's fault? His best receiver's hurt. Mike Williams is out. They couldn't run the football, even with Austin Eckler back. 35 total yards last night. Chargers have rushed for over 100 yards since week one, exactly once. Combined for just 91 yards in week 2 and 3. So they can't run the football. The receiving core isn't healthy. Herbert was pressured on 42% of his dropbacks last night. Dallas was in his face all night. The interception at the end of the game, of course, Dallas was right in his face. All right. Now, there's all of these pointing fingers. Anytime a team loses, it's, who's the fault? Oh, it's Staley's fault. Oh, it's Herbert. The Chargers have a lot of talent. The Chargers do not have a lot of depth. And when you have a team that's missing key pieces, that's getting poor offensive line play, what happens is you end up with 17 points, a game-losing interception, and you lose the contest. Chargers, the star power, most assuredly there. Justin Herbert's fault? Come on, guys. Think a little deeper than that. There are a lot more problems with LA than Justin Herbert, and there are about, 25 teams in the league would be real happy to have him as their quarterback moving forward. So beware the mainstream narratives from this stuff. Herbert taking the blame. Chargers' weaknesses a lot bigger than just Justin Herbert's struggle. Let's not forget he does have a fractured finger, a middle finger as well, which I don't know how much it affected his play last night being it's his non-throwing hand, but at least he was willing to play through pain. Not Herbert's fault. Prez, back to you.
Teddy, look, I don't want to sit here and say it was Herbert's fault specifically. We did see a good effort from the Chargers defense, which we spoke about yesterday, that was their Achilles heel. Justin missed some real important throws, and it was consistently bad from my perspective. I watched the game. He overthrew wide receivers all game long. From my perspective, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Justin Herbert sucks. I think Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterback. I'm a huge fan of Justin Herbert. He had a terrible game last night, and I understand he was under pressure all game long. But there was this one pass where he, on a third down, where he just underthrew him by like this much. And who was it? Aikman was saying, oh, he was, under duress. He had the time to make that throw. He also had the time to make the throw to Keenan Allen running down the left side. He overthrew him there. I do think Justin Herbert is part of the blame last night. But also, Teddy, when you're betting on or against the Chargers, it literally comes down to, are they going to make their fourth downs? I mean, this is a team that if they convert, 90% of their fourth downs in one game, they're going to win. And if they convert 10% of their fourth downs in one game, they're going to lose. Teddy, no wonder you suck at poker.
Your percentages baffled me because no one's ever going to convert 90% of their fourth downs.
Dude, I made them up.
Yeah, I know, but you say they're not going for 10 fourth downs and making 9 of them, or one out of 10. That's not 10. So your percentages bothered me when you're throwing out numbers. Oh, I just made up numbers. Yeah, and they just bugged me. So I made a little facial expression.
Okay, the bottom line is this team is all about whether they make their first down, their first down on fourth down, or they don't. So I have an answer. One of our listeners wants to know who holds the record for Marco. Marco holds it. Guys, I have to beat this record. Marco holds the record. It is, guys, please buy it twice, 3 times, $6. Just make 3 different logins, buy 3, play $6. Please, I must break Marco's $2 record. I only need about another 1,400 purchases. So help this man out. It's time for Hakeem Profit. Skee, how are you, bro? Well, that was quick.
Going with you guys.
Wow,
Hey, I
brother,
have a comment on that really quick, just because I'm a Charger fan. I've always liked Justin Herbert, and I'm not saying I don't like him anymore now, but I just think it's at a point where we have to stop making so many excuses for him and just saying he's off the hook for every performance. I get that there's injuries and the coaching is not great. I mean, you can look, they lost game 1. Everybody was healthy in game 1. I just think we need to stop having so many excuses for Justin Herbert. That's all.
They scored 33 points in game 1. It wasn't Justin Herbert's fault they lost that game. They just ran into Miami offense. It's pretty good. My 2 cents.
Skee, can you do me a favor?
I think he made a go for it.
No. Finish your thought.
I think it came down to the end of the game, and Justin Herbert made a bad decision, but I'm not sure. It was a little over a month ago.
Skee, so I need a favor from you. If you could, after this show, buy my $2 Tuesday play. It's only $2, dude. I'll grab you a coffee when I'm in Vegas. Ralph Michaels just put up Marco has the record, and Prez, this is what he says. Prez, you will not break it. Challenge accepted. I am going to walk the streets all afternoon with my iPad. Just
Let's get a betting market on this. What's the number for you to break the record? Give me a number, Prez.
So here's the problem, Teddy. Marco's record, he had the $2 Tuesday play up all week.
Yeah.
My play is only $2 until 3 a.m. Eastern tonight. So he will have had 5 extra days. And I say the chance of me breaking the record is minus 1,200.
Minus 1,200 on the yes?
Yes.
I'm interested in that.
Sounds like some good plus money.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's
fine.
a no big line. I get plus 1,200 back.
You know what? I'll give you a plus 110 on it as well, for no reason, even though that makes no sense whatsoever. Teddy,
so I get plus 13,
we are going
back?
to do it. Let's go. We need some actionable info. Guys, Hakeem will be joining us every single week throughout the NBA season. We're excited to have you. One of the best NBA bettors around, and just an incredible year, Skee. Last 365 days has been sensational. So congratulations to that. Now, with that said, who, my friend, is going to win the East?
I couldn't wait to come and talk NBA, especially with Teddy here today. So, and I did my thinking about this for quite a while because I know people are going to give me a hard time for my selections. But I'll start in the Western Conference. And I tried my hardest to find a team that was going to be a better pick. But I like the Lakers at plus 750. And reasons why I like them, I'll rewind back to last season. They were pitiful to start the year. They got to the trade deadline. They made a lot of moves. And the second half of the season, they looked really good. They were able to take that team all the way to the Western Conference Finals where they eventually got swept. But now you give that same group a chance with the full offseason together. You know, they have much better chemistry now. And speaking of that, they re-signed everybody except for Schroeder. So I really like that. And they added guys that we can use too, like Hayes, Vincent, Christian Wood, who'll be good in stretching the floor. And those are 2 guys who allow Anthony Davis to do what he wants, which is play the power forward position instead of center and get banged up all year. So that's good for his health and just good for him in general. And even younger guys coming up. I think we'll see a lot of Max Christie. He's looking really good. So I like that. And just other things that I see from this Lakers team, just guys buying in. A reason why the Lakers lost last year in the playoffs, one reason, not the reason, D'Angelo Russell. He got played off the court, right? Because he couldn't guard anybody. If you look at him this year, he's showing a whole lot of effort and energy on that end. And when they asked him about it, he says, yeah, I mean, last year they found a way to get me off the floor by not playing defense, I guess. So I try to find a reason to, I try to be a reason to eliminate that and not give them a reason to have me off the floor. So I like guys talking like that. I've heard plenty of guys on this roster, you know, unhappy with how people have been talking about the Lakers and, you know, how they ended the season. So I just think this is a hungry group. They have 11, 12 guys that you can trust out there, one of the deepest team, if not the deepest team. And I think it's a great price. So plus 750, I'm in. I like the Lakers.
So the Lakers, and let me start with this. Of your 2 picks, I'd rather have this one than your other one. We'll talk about that one in a few minutes for sure. In my mind, the Lakers make sense. And the Lakers are live in the West. And the odds are telling us that right now. You talk about the 7.5 to 1 on LA. They're the 4th favorite in the West. Denver, Phoenix, Golden State. Priced ahead of them. Dallas, the Clips, the Grizzlies. Priced just behind them. Are there any of those other teams that I just mentioned? And again, let me just run through them again real quick. Denver, Phoenix, and Golden State. Odds are shorter than the Lakers. Mavs, Clippers, Grizzlies. Odds a little bit longer than the Lakers, but those, in theory, are the live teams in the West this year. Any of those other contenders that you're concerned about in terms of matchups with LA. And a follow-up question as well. When it comes to betting the Lakers to win the West, would you make that bet now, or is that something you might want to hold off on until once the season starts, a little bit later, et cetera, et cetera? Is this the best number you're going to get on LA to win the West, given their early
100%.
season schedule?
Am I 100% sure this is the best number you're going to get on the Lakers? I am not, but I still think it's a good enough number for you to get involved now. And, maybe don't go as heavy if you want to leave yourself an opportunity to jump in again later if the odds get worse. But I can see this team, regardless if Anthony Davis misses some time, LeBron misses some time, it's a very talented roster and they're very deep. So I do like them regardless. And to answer your other question, looking at some of these other teams, and that is how I do these futures bets. I do it by process of elimination. So the Suns, the problem with me is they're getting Bradley Beal over there. It's going to take some time to see, how he's running point guard or just to get the chemistry together over there. We see a lot of times when a big three or however you want to call it, a super team gets together, they don't necessarily win in that first go round. The Nuggets, I don't like that they lost Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. And I just feel like as much as the Nuggets have been talking, they have a humongous target on their back this year, and it wasn't like that last year. The Warriors, they do worry me, but I just think the Warriors lack the length to match up with either Jokic or Anthony Davis, so that's why I don't take those guys. The Kings, I'm not sure if you mentioned them, but I just don't think they're experienced enough, and Sabonis needs to get a jump shot. The Clippers, I always say this, the Clippers are going to clip. The Mavericks, I just don't have a whole lot of faith in what they have going over there either. So I just threw everybody else out. Process of elimination leaves me with the Lakers.
Skee, let's turn our attention to the East now. What team is going to win that from a value perspective?
And this is the one that Teddy does not agree with. And I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with.
That's not horrific. But I will say this, Skee, before you go, I will say that somebody in the chat room said Teddy is looking very sexy today. Do you feel the same way, Skee?
I'm gonna let the commenter have that one.
Enough said. Enough said.
Start money on the under. Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
I'll start with, I really like that the Celtics, that's my pick to win the Eastern Conference, plus 175. They have the same odds as the Bucks. But I really like that they now have a point guard and Drew Holiday to, run the offense and help get some of these guys easier and better shots. I didn't think that Marcus Smart was too capable of doing that. And then when I just think about the offensive end, it's very hard for me to think of, and especially after I do my process of elimination, who's going to stop Tatum or Brown? I feel like both of those guys have proven themselves and they're elite offensively. You look at the Celtics team, it's a team that's made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 4 of the last 6 years. So I look around the East, and the only thing that worries me, I know Teddy's going to mention it maybe, but it worries me a little bit that they're top heavy. But the stars that they have for the Celtics team are not injury prone. So when I look at the rest of the league, the Sixers, they have a whole hell of a lot going on over there. They have a new coach. You're not sure if James Harden's going to be there by the end of the year. He doesn't want to be there. We know that for sure. Embiid might even request a trade once Harden leaves. So, my bad. It's a lot of moving parts for this 76ers team. The Heat, they lost a couple key guys to their rotation. They lost Vincent. They lost Strus. And I just think they're a little bit weaker than in years past. I don't really trust them. And when I look at the specific matchup, because I think this is what we all think is going to happen, Celtics versus the Bucks, Drew Holiday owns Damian Lillard. I always go back to when I got into this industry, I was really high on the Pelicans versus the Trailblazers. Pelicans were plus 200 underdog, and they swept the Trailblazers. A big reason was because Drew had Lillard on lock, and Lillard just doesn't like going against bigger defenders. And it just happens to bother him. I've seen it plenty of times over the years. So I really trust him in that matchup. When I think about the rest of the team, you beat Giannis by building a wall. I've also seen Horford. He's a little bit older now, but just a year or two ago, he had a hell of a lot of success defending Giannis in a playoff series. I think he held him to like 31% when he was defending him. And you look at the Bucks stars, they do have that injury history. We've seen Giannis banged up plenty of times. We've seen Chris Middleton missing a lot of time. And Damian Lillard, the same deal. this is a Bucks team that's made the Eastern Conference 3 of the last 4 years. I do think they'll get there. They could. They may not get there. They could have trouble with Miami again. But once they get to the Celtics, if they do, I don't see them winning. So I like the Celtics plus 175 by process of elimination.
You just talked about Al Horford, and I want to talk about Al Horford because Al Horford, to me, when he won the back-to-back national titles at Florida in 2006 and 2007, I'm like, I love this guy. Made me a ton of money in college basketball. I loved him in the NBA. But Al Horford was playing for national championships in 2006 and 2007. It's 2024. The dude is old, all right? And you're telling me that a front court of Horford and Porzingis is going to be able to hang with any of the other front courts of the contenders in the NBA? To me, Boston's front court stands out as a sieve. It stands out as a problematic unit, and maybe there'll be buyers at the deadline. But right now, that front court looks to me like they're going to be abused night in, night out. Anyone can take the ball out of the hole. They'll have injury problems. They'll have age problems. Porzingis never stays healthy. What do you make of the Celtics front court? I know their star power is great, but the depth isn't there. You talked about that a little bit. And I don't think the front court's there either. Talk to me about Boston's front court.
Well, first, I would argue that 2 years ago, Al Horford was still considered old, and that's when he held Giannis down. Whenever anybody besides Horford was guarding him, Giannis was shooting about 56%, and when Horford was guarding him, he was shooting 31.8%, I believe. So I still think he can do something like that again this year. And Porzingis is injury prone, and the front court is a mismatch. I just think it'll be a collective, a team defense. They will absolutely miss Robert Williams on the defensive end. There's no doubt about it. But I just think as a collective, and when you have a guy who can take another guy out of the game, like Lillard or Drew on Lillard, you can just focus on the rest, which is what you're talking about, the front court. So I think they'll be all right playing it team defense.
Skee Profit joining us, everyone, brother. What do you got to promote?
Well, last season in the NBA, I gained just a little bit under 130 units. So if you'd like to rock with me, I believe it's still on sale or on special on there. And also, I am 41-23 going back to last year's MLB playoffs. So last year's MLB playoffs and this year's combined. This year, I'm 18-12. So I don't have a play up yet for today, but I absolutely will once I finish doing my research and get off of this show. So check out my MLB, and NBA will be here in 1 week.
Outstanding stuff. Hakeem Profit joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. He will be here every single week to discuss the NBA. Teddy covers, we still have lots more to go. We've got your big game breakdown coming up, and then NFL Marketplace. 370 of you guys watching, less than $372 sales. So I know that we're not a team right now, people in there. Also, totally forgot what I wanted to say. So let's just move into, oh, yes, we need likes. Likes, Teddy. We must have likes. We are short for the daily presidential address. I gave out a 170 dog yesterday. I got a couple for you guys today. Please take a minute out of your day and hit that like button. Theodore, your big game breakdown, and then NFL Marketplace.
Big game breakdown. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Denver Broncos. NFL action for Sunday. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. Green Bay, pretty much a 1-point favorite across the board. There are a couple of 1.5s out there on the road in Denver. Total 44.5. There are some 45s as we speak. And look, the Packers, they're 2-3. Their wins have come against the Bears in week 1 and against the Saints in a game where they trailed 17-0 into the fourth quarter and rallied to get the win. So it's not like we've seen a lot of victories for Green Bay. The offensive line is not protecting Jordan Love. He's taken 10 sacks, 6 interceptions. We saw the debacle on Monday Night Football where they couldn't contain Max Crosby. David Bakhtiari, their best lineman, he's out for the year. Leading rusher A.J. Dillon's averaging 3 yards to carry, although they should have Aaron Jones back this week, but Dillon has not been able to carry the offense. And you look at this receiving core, the Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed and Christian Watson. Watson has some speed. None of these receivers scare any defense. They really don't. Defensively, Green Bay's been pretty good. 16 sacks. Rashawn Gary's been a terror. He's not the only one. Through the bye week, the plan for Matt LaFleur, quote, I'm going to study some of the things around the league and see if there's something we can steal to try to find a way to generate, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, just generate some momentum for our offense. This isn't a real good offense right now. All right. And certainly they've, been, the completion percentage is the problem. Jordan Love has been an issue. Slow starts have been an issue. None of that's been a problem for Denver in terms of slow starts. They're 1-5. They led the Raiders at the half week 1. They led the Commanders at the half week 2. They led the Jets at the half week 5. They just weren't able to hold any of those leads. When you read the quotes out of Denver's locker room, after the loss to Kansas City on Thursday night, so Denver 2 with some extra time to prepare here. Sean Payton, I told our players I was disappointed, but I'm not discouraged. I thought they played hard. Denver's finding ways to lose games, but they're not getting blown out in games. Green Bay's getting off to slow starts. Denver's getting off to hot starts. Let's not overthink this. Broncos, first half, plus a half a point. Let's get in and out of this game by halftime. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, I want to add to that because I like this game a lot myself, and I'm going to be looking to bet the under in this game. 44.5 points is shocking to me. I mean, Green Bay is favored here, which suggests that the line makers think they're going to win. Okay, it's pretty close to a pick 'em, but let's say even. Let's say that they're even. So Green Bay put up 13 points on Vegas. Before that, 20 on Detroit. Before that, 18 on New Orleans. In order for this line and this number, the line and the total to work, this game is going to end 24-20, 24-21. I don't see how Green Bay can get that many points. And I understand that Denver's got a really bad defense, but they got a ton of starters back last week, and they held Kansas City to 19 points. So I look at this game and I am shocked that this total is 44.5. I like the under in this game, and I also agree with you on your bet.
There we go. Broncos first half and the under. Done and done.
There we go.
Is
Guys,
that
hit that like.
play?
No, it will likely.
It
Actually, you asked that question, Teddy. It will likely be a client play. The 4% play for the $2 Tuesday is an ATS bet, but my unders this year are 11-4. So I'm rocking the unders, bro. That's for sure. Okay, brother, it's time for NFL. What? Someone just hit the like button and then took it away. Now I need 126 likes for the daily presidential address. I am personally insulted by that. Okay, Theodore, it's time for the NFL Marketplace. We've got about 7 minutes left. Take your time. Enjoy this segment, and let's start with the Detroit Lions. Go ahead, brother. Buy or sell?
So for this week, I am not necessarily buying Detroit. For the long term, I am buying Detroit. The Lions have played really good football in recent weeks. They've been pretty dominant. 4 straight wins, 4 straight covers. And one thing I don't want to do in the NFL is start jumping on teams after they've won and covered 4 in a row. In addition, they take a step up in class this week against a pretty good Baltimore defense. When you look at Goff's home road numbers, it actually stands out pretty significantly. All right, I know they won and covered at Tampa last week, but Goff, every year he's been in Detroit, his QB rating at home has been about 25 points higher than it has been on the highway. It's been pretty consistent, been very consistent. So I don't love him this week, but and when we look at the contenders in the NFC, you got San Fran, everyone's talking about, Dallas, everyone's talking about, Philly, everyone's talking about, and Detroit is the team that people hasn't gotten the hype. I do believe the Lions deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as the other 3 elite teams in the NFC. What about you?
Listen, I'm really high on this Lions team. I agree with the concept this week might be a tough week, and I don't want to be betting a team just like you that have covered 4 straight. With that said, from a long-term perspective, I think this team might be the 3rd best team in all of football, and I know people are like, what? Well, firstly, we saw Philly and San Fran both lose this past week. So now Detroit is even with them. And I look at this Detroit team, Teddy, and I think this team can run the ball down your throat. They got unbelievable wide receivers. This team has got a quarterback that I consider to be the most underrated quarterback in the history of football. That's how big a fan I am of Jared Goff. I think their coach is spectacular. Their front seven is good. They got an incredible edge rusher. Their secondary is good. This team can win high-scoring games. This team can win low-scoring games. I don't necessarily love the spot this week, but they are getting 3. I right now have a lean towards Detroit at +3, but I likely won't get to the window. I love this team moving forward. I think that this is a team that could make some serious noise.
Well, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Now that we spent 6 minutes of our 8 minutes on Detroit, let's talk about Seattle, a team that's come out of the gate, and I can only call it mediocre so far. What are you going to do with them following? They won 3 in a row, then lost to Cincinnati last week. 3-2 right now, heading into week 7. What do we do with the Seabags?
To me, Teddy, they're a sell team, and they're a sell team for one reason. I think Bill Carroll is coaching this team wrong. I think the play calls are wrong. I think this team's strength is in the passing game, and obviously in order to have a great passing game, you need to set up the run. But come on, Bill, open this damn offense up. Like it define yourselves. This team 1 week is running more than it's throwing. The next week it's throwing more than it's running. You got an incredible wide receiver core, an elite wide receiver core. Plus you've now added Bobo, who looks like he's going to be for real. I want to see this team play with a more aggressive approach to their offense and their play calling. I think until they define themselves, they are a sell team for me.
So the coach's name obviously is Pete Carroll, not Bill Carroll.
Why did I say Bill Carroll? Who is Bill?
You said it twice.
Where did Bill Carroll come in?
I don't know. Your brain, the connections are, fizzing all over the place.
Dementia.
But I don't really have a buy or sell on Seattle. In my mind, Seattle's priced appropriately right now. They are a decent team. They are a pretty good team. They're a 9-win team. They're being priced like a 9-win team. I don't look at the Seahawks as being a buy or sell at this particular moment because they're not overvalued or undervalued in the betting markets.
Washington, Teddy, are they a buy or sell team for you moving forward?
You sell them off a win and you buy them off a loss, maybe. And we're seeing a fair bit of that. In terms of teams not responding well to victories, but stepping up fairly well from defeats. But in general, my thought on the Commanders is this is not a contender. I know that Sam Howell outplayed Desmond Ridder last week. I know they have a fair bit of talent on the roster, but organizationally, there are issues. I'm not buying why. If I had a choice, buy or sell, I'll sell the Commanders. What about you? You're going to make some more Commodores references?
They still have ladies. Okay, there's 2 for you right there. They have a brick house of a front 7. I think Washington is a buy team this week specifically. They're playing the Giants. Look, Washington has gone into Philadelphia. They almost won that game. They beat Atlanta on the road. They've already won 2 games on the road this year. It's not like they fear playing on the road. I look at this team, and I think this is a well-constructed football team. They've got a decent running game, good wide receivers, good tight end. Sam Howell looks like he's for real. And I think we are going to see that defense get better and better as we move forward. I like them this Sunday, and I actually think they're a buy team moving forward. The only problem I have with Washington is the same problem I have with the Chargers and Dallas, and that is a shit coach whose name is Pete Rivera.
Okay, Pete Rivera. Well done. Yeah.
Pete Rivera.
Gotcha. Let's get them all wrong. All right, so the coach of the Baltimore Ravens, what are we going to call him? Joe Harbaugh now?
No, Steve.
Exactly. What are we going to do with Baltimore moving forward? Do they buy or sell?
Sell. This week's a bad spot for Detroit, even though I think they're way better than this team. The problem I have with betting on or against Baltimore is Lamar Jackson never tweets out ahead of time whether he's going to show up or not show up. This is a quarterback that at moments is the best in the league and at moments is the worst in the league. His inconsistency is impossible to figure out. It makes this team impossible to bet on or against. I actually tend to stay away from Raven games on a whole, but I do not think this team is nearly as good as most. I think they are a sell moving forward. You?
So did you have a bet on the Ravens last week? Sounded like you did.
No, I did not.
Okay, good. Good. Good they won. Oh, no, it would have been last week.
Teddy, I
they won.
almost never bet on Raven games because Lamar is all world one game and Trent Dilfer the next.
So why are we selling? Instead of saying, if Lamar's going to be all world one game, we don't want to sell on him. We want to say, I don't know.
Well, I don't think this team is as good as people think they are, period.
Sure. I got the Ravens in my top quartile in the NFL. Okay.
Quartile.
There's 32 teams. Top quartile is they're in the top 8. So they're not a team that I have a sell sign on right now. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I think Baltimore is pretty darn good, and they may get better as the season progresses.
Teddy, the Bills, interesting team. What do we do with them?
It's an interest, and that's to me, Buffalo of all these teams, it might be the hardest one because the Bills have Super Bowl potential. All right, their A game is super. They can get there, no question. Buffalo has consistently and repeatedly in recent years not stepped down in class all that well at times. They lose focus against lesser teams. So in general, I want to buy the Bills against stronger opponents and sell them against lesser opponents. I guess that's the way I would put Buffalo. What about you?
Oh, nailed it, brother. That is so well said. I couldn't agree with you more. They're like the Maple Leafs of the NHL. They beat good teams and suck against bad. Well said, Teddy. That is the NFL marketplace. Thank you for watching it. Guys, we got way over 126 likes. Much appreciated. Daniel's son, it's time for the daily presidential address. Okay, guys, it's time for your daily presidential address. I'm Lawrence Presman, and I have 2 NHL bets for you tonight. Before we get into that, I want to make mention that I am the $2 Tuesday handicapper over at WagerTalk. I have an NFL ATS bet. It's a 4% play. It's my first 4% ATS NFL bet this entire season. I am 7-3 in ATS bets this year. I am 26-11 in NFL ATS bets since the beginning of last season. This is the strongest play I have consistently year in, year out. It's only $2. So please head over to WagerTalk and grab that play. So as for your 2 NHL bets tonight, I like the Philadelphia and Vancouver game to go over. That's over the total. Philadelphia and Vancouver at 6.5. I'm looking to bet both these teams to the over all year. They're playing against each other. I think we're going to see a high-scoring game. I also like the Minnesota Wild tonight at -137 against Montreal. Montreal coming off of a win, Minnesota coming off of a loss. So those are the 2 bets for today. Thank you all for watching. Teddy, my brother, it's lunchtime. Please take us home.
It's breakfast time out here on the West Coast, and that's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, right here on Wager Talk TV, 9 a.m. on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, you guys know what to do. Enjoy the games, and best of luck with all your wagers.